Daylight breaks over the ridge. The hounds strike. No crowds, no cameras, just a track and the hounds that bring the story to life. That's what this show's about. Dogs, dirt roads, early mornings, and the people who live it. This is Creekside Chronicles. Hounds, hunting, and heritage. I am your host, Heath Hyatt, houndsman, hunter, and a lifelong student of the outdoors. Here, we chase more than game. We chase knowledge about hounds, hunting, and living the outdoor life the right way. From bear country to back roads, this is where the hunt meets heart, and every story runs a different trail. So pull up your chair by the creek, leash up your best hound, and let's get after it together. Performance starts in the feed. Inukshuk's high-fat content fuels long runs and hard hunts, giving dogs the steady energy they need, while quality protein supports faster recovery after the work is done. That's why I trust Inukshuk dog food. Packed with energy and nutrition dogs need to go further, run harder, and recover stronger. If you want extreme performance, you can look them up at Inukshuk Professional Dog Food or Corey.ca. Welcome back to Creekside Chronicles. And man, what a week it's been. I'll tell you a couple stories before we get started. If you live in the great state of Virginia, it's in complete chaos right now. And that includes the weather. Past couple of days, it's been 78 and 80 degrees. Yesterday morning, wake up, go to work. When I left the house, it was 44 degrees. And, I go into work about 6:30. Got to work. Of course, I'm responding to emails and trying to catch up, get my stuff caught up for the day. And, as people start coming in, and I'm looking outside, and I'm like, man, it's raining a little bit. Well, by 8:30, so 2 hours after I left the house, it is blowing snowflakes the size of silver dollars. And within another hour, the ground's got 2 inches covered on it. And we're at a whopping 29 degrees. So the weather went from 44 to 29 in less than a 3-hour stint. I go from sunburn one day to snowshoes the next. Like that. What a wonderful, wonderful world we live in. I mean, Virginia, if you want all 4 seasons in a day, come on over. We'll be glad to have you. But I also got a little fishing in this past week. Trout fished for this went for one day. I took Tuesday off. I could not stand sitting in the office. And my job nowadays entails that I do a lot of office work, unfortunately. Monday, it killed me sitting in the office looking outside and seeing how pretty it was. And I'm like, you know what? I'm taking off Tuesday and I'm going to fish. And fish I did. So I go up to one of the local creeks, and they'd stocked the day before. So they stocked Monday, and everybody's like, man, there's fish everywhere. I mean, there's plenty of fish. So we start at a couple holes that I normally fish. Nothing. Don't even see a fish. Going up the creek, and I checked 4 different holes. And by the 5th hole, we caught a fish, hooked a fish, it got off, and then we just started fishing down the creek from there and found a little hole with a couple in it. So I caught a couple. And my goal for the day was to fish that morning on the creek, let it warm up because it was chilly. And then in the evening, I'm going to go to the river and fish, which is what I did. But while I'm standing there fishing this one hole, I see a couple lures over in the trees on the other side of the bank. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go up the creek and wait around, and I'm going to go over there and get them. Right? So about 10 o'clock or so, I decide that I'm going to give the fish a break. Like, they've really slowed down. They're not chasing the spinners. They're definitely not coming out after anything that I'm throwing. Just going to give them a break. So I went down the creek, fished another hole, went down a little bit further, fished another hole, and I come back, and I'm like, I'm going over. So I start wading across the creek, and I get within a footstep of the bank, like literally. I just need to step over on the bank. And I go to step, and the rock below me is like, no, hold on. We got to turn this into some excitement. So I face plant right in the creek, soak myself. I mean, my waders are full. So I get up on the bank, and I'm not even mad, really. Like, I'm kind of laughing under my breath about it. One of my buddies was up there, and I think he got a kick out of it. So I get over there, I pull my waders off, I dump out the water out of my waders, and I mean, it was a lot. I pull my merino wool socks off, and we talked about that, and I squeeze them out really good and try to get them dry, and I lay them right there on the rock for just a minute, and I squeeze it into my pants. You know, I'm trying to get all the water out of the end of my pants, and I just go ahead and walk down the rocks there, and I get those two lures out. I come back, clean my feet off real good, and pull my socks back up. Man, am I dreading putting them waders back on, but I got to get back across the creek. So put the waders back on, hook them up, and I step out into the creek, and the very same rock decides that he wants to be funny today. And he dumps me again. Like, I fell twice in the same spot. This time not as bad, but I fell. So I'm soaked at this point. Like, I'm soaked. So I go up, and my buddy had lost the lure in the middle of the creek earlier that morning. So I wade down, and I just go ahead and I go out there and get it. I'm like, I'm already wet. I'm just getting it. So I get his lure and give it back to him. And yeah, that's the kind of days I've had. I'm really considering that I'm a lot more clumsier than I thought I was. But them rocks are slick, so I think I'm going to have to upgrade my waders to put felt on the bottom. I just don't think that what I'm doing is working. So I come home, grab me some lunch, get the boat out, and I head to the river. I caught my first bass of the year. Water's 46 degrees. It's a little chilly. Water's perfect color. It's got that green tint to it, if you guys know what I'm talking about. Green tint, I love it. And I fished for a couple hours that evening. I didn't raise any muskies. I fished for muskies probably an hour and a half, and then I spent the rest of the time bass fishing just to see if I could figure out what they were biting and stuff. Our tournaments will start up here probably in April, so trying to get a hold of that. But yeah, so fished, and I'm off today, and my plan today is the exact same. I'm going to try to hit the river when it warms up this evening, because we still got snow on the ground. Like, I'm looking out my window right now, and my yard is still not covered. You can see the grass up through the snow, but I still got snow from yesterday. But it's supposed to be 58 degrees today. So as soon as it starts getting up above 40, I'm gonna hit the river. So that's that. That's my week. That's how it's been. Sunshine and snowshoes, wet waders. That's the story of my life. But while we're talking about spring is when good hunters become better hunters. Why? Because it's a time to stop celebrating those good races and start evaluating our dogs. You know, the season ends, and most hunters do two things. They either remember the best races of the year, or if you're like me, you're remembering the most frustrating ones, the ones that keep you up at night. You're sitting there thinking, what happened? What went wrong? What can I do differently? What can I do better? But the truth is, when the leaves start coming out and the wood's quiet, that's when our real work begins. Spring is when a hunter has to be honest with himself about his dogs. Not what we hope they are, but what they actually show us during the season. And I have taken the last 2 months. I am right in the middle of a hard evaluation on my pack. And I'm gonna go over some of the things that I'm looking at and what I'm. And again, everybody likes stuff different. Everybody, sees things a little bit different or likes different things out of their dogs. But this is what I'm doing with mine. So I kind of look at how my season ended. We had a really good season. We won't complain about it. I promise. Um, caught bear, had a good time. Yeah, that's kind of where I'll leave with that. But January we had a lot of snow on, freezing time. It's froze up. My plans are always to get my dogs out up until March, which is our coon season's over with now. And just reflect on it. Like, all right, let's really, really sit down and look at what I have, like what I have. And for me, and this again, a lot of this stuff stems back to my canine training. Like when I'm going to test a dog and I'm evaluating a dog after we get it and we get it through a school and we get it, we get OR put on him and we've got search patterns put on him. And I'm just talking about detection dogs. Or even my tracking dogs. We're teaching our tactical tracking class this coming week. So when you guys are listening to this, I'll be teaching. So next week we'll kind of we'll bring you up to date on what happened there because we got some new dogs coming in. But you have to really evaluate those dogs because they're a tool for us in the community, and they've got to be productive. And if they're not productive, then somebody, a sheriff's department, a police department, a college campus has spent a lot of money on a tool that's not being productive for what they spent. So that evaluation matters. And I've really transitioned it into my pack, which I think in my mind, I've always done it. I just never followed through with it. We all say, okay, I need to do this, this, and this, or my dog's not doing X, Y, and Z. But do we follow through with that? So, every dog in that kennel has taught you something this year. Every dog in your kennel. The question is, did you learn the lesson? All right, so let's go into the evaluation process. Right? So, first and foremost, you have to remove emotion from the evaluation. And that's hard because we get attached. I do. I spend so much time in the foundation part of my dogs that I really become attached to them. And that is a weakness of mine. And I had somebody actually tell me last week, I was actually talking about evaluating my dogs. Like, I need to do this, this, and this. I need to get, and they're like, Heath, just because that dog doesn't suit you, or just because that dog's not doing what you expect it to do, doesn't mean that it doesn't have a purpose or it doesn't have a function that it can be used for. And I got thinking about that, and I'm like, yeah, but like, do I want to spend the time doing it? And they look at me and they're like, you train dogs for a living. Yeah, I do. But it's also a lot easier if that genetic makeup and that DNA is so strong in that dog that I have to do less training. We've discussed that. But here's what we judge dogs by, or I look at myself. One good race. Did that dog make one good race, or did that dog have one bad race? Had a couple of those this year where I just couldn't put my finger on it. Something happened, and these are mostly my younger dogs. Okay. When I say younger dogs, I'm saying my 2-year-olds under. Personal attachment. We talked about that. Like, that's me. I'm sorry. But if we're looking at real evaluations, it's got to come from patterns over the entire season. Well, what do you mean patterns? Consistency, right? Did that dog perform every hunt, every other hunt, or just occasionally? Right? Let's look at the drive. We talk about drive a lot in dogs. Does that dog desire the game that we're chasing? And I have one out here. I'll tell it on myself. I absolutely love the dog to death. A lot. Very attached. They're going to make a good dog. They're slow about coming on. But this is something that I've seen in them is I can't say that they're fond of the bear world. But I can tell you in the coon world, it's a different story. It's amazing how that works, right? So does the dog desire the game? Or does it just go through the motions? Does it just follow along? I call it suitcasing. They just go along to get along, you know? All right, dogs are running. I'm going to be here. Like, I'm going to be here. Is it going through the motions? And I look at brains. Like, we got to really look at, intelligent level of the dog. Can they solve problems? And I'm all the time when I'm having my litter of puppies, I'm all the time setting up little challenges for them through the feeding cycle to see who gets frustrated the quickest, who stays frustrated the longest, who's able to work through the problems. And it may just putting the food up. You see me do it in some of my reels. I put the food up and give them options to get up there, but they have to figure it out. That's a really good thing, when you're looking at intelligence and brains and stuff. That's just a little thing that I do with puppies. Can that dog solve problems when it's on the track? Can it get through a tough track? Independence versus pack dependence. Here we go. I've got another one that will look at the pack dependence, and then it breaks down to independence. That's like this dog's got both. This dog, if a bear crosses a road and I put him on it, he's going to run and catch it by himself. But starting a track, he wants somebody in his back pocket, and I do not like that. So this spring, this summer, when I get out and I'm able to go chase, I'm really going to work on that. Super, super nice hound. Super nice hound. But I need him doing it all, not just three quarters of what it is. And he's 3/4 there. He's not 100%. So, does he contribute, or do the dogs contribute to the race? Again, that's that going along through the motions. And a good example of that would be, the hunt's going to expose the dog over time. You might fool yourself for a hunt or two, but the whole season is going to tell the truth. So when you really look back over the season, you can usually put your dogs into 3 categories. And those categories are dogs that improved, dogs that need work, or traits that we need to keep breeding. So let's go back to dogs that improved. And this is stuff we need to recognize. Like these are progresses, right? Young dogs that started to figure things out. And usually it kind of takes to the late season to really see that come to fruition. Like it takes a little bit. A lot of dogs come out of the gate hot. They do. But is that dog starting to figure things out? Does the dog have the matured mentality? And we talked about this with our males versus females. Your females are usually going to be a little quicker with that maturity. Okay. Dogs that gain confidence, like, that dog's getting more confident. He's starting to venture out. He's starting to do more on his own. That's things that you're looking at, signs of improvement, staying in the races longer or making the races, moving the tracks better, making fewer mistakes is where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. You don't have to go chasing them down or running around after them. Are they being more honest, not being trashy? Like that's progress. Like, okay, we're making some gains here. So, you might have a young dog that struggled early in the season, maybe overrun some tracks, got one like that, overrun some tracks, got lost in the pack. But by the end of the season, they're starting to click along. Yep. More consistent. These are the dogs that you can build a pack around. But every dog that improves, going to be a few that show us where our problems are. And we go back to, separating those dogs out, bringing them down and hunting less dogs to show you where your problems lie or what your strength and your weaknesses are. And a lot of people don't want to do that. I have no problem hunting with 2 dogs. I don't have to do it very often, but I have no problem doing it. I'll grab 2 dogs and I'll go to the woods, 3 dogs, 4 dogs. 6 is my cutoff. That's just because I can handle 6 pretty easily. But I have no problem taking 2 dogs and going to the woods. So things need to be worked on. Okay, things need to be worked on. Trash, lack of endurance, babbling. Oh, that's something that I really can't stand. Are they dropping out of races? Are they covering instead of trailing? And if you watch your GPS, you will see this. You'll see those dogs shortcut from point A to point B, and they'll shortcut without taking the track. They're just going to the next place the dog barks, just, something to look for. Our spring and summer allows us to work on discipline, trash breaking, conditioning, confidence, like all these things we can do right now during downtime. And I've seen some of my buddies over in West Virginia. I mean, they're getting after them right now. Like, man, that would be such a blessing. But, fixing problems in the off season is easier than trying to fix them in the middle of hunting season. Correcting it early before it becomes a habit. All right. We've talked about it. The small problem in a 2-year-old dog becomes a permanent problem in a 5-year-old dog. And if you've identified what dogs improved and which dogs need work, the next step is thinking about the future of your kennel. So let's talk about the breeding. Let's talk about those traits we're looking for. When you're breeding, are you looking for, nose, speed, endurance, grit, brains, honesty, right? Some dogs are more honest than others. Some are genetically programmed to be trashier than others. Do they handle? One of the things that I cannot stand, and actually this was playing in my head yesterday as I was feeding. I have one dog that drives me bananas. Flat bananas. When I feed, that dog is like wired, just bouncing off all 4 walls of the pen, up on the dog box, down, spinning around. Like, dude, just chill. And I work on it. I promise you. Like, I make the dog, like, I make it calm down. I make sure that it's in a calm state before I put the food down. But it drives me batty. Like, that drives me crazy. And that's just something that, for me, a lot of people don't. I don't think a lot of people really pay attention to that. But man, it's a nemesis for me. Like, it is a nemesis. So when we're breeding, does that dog have strengths that you want to carry forward? Rarely does one dog ever have everything. The best dogs don't always win every race. Sometimes the best ones are consistent, move a track forward, and make the whole pack better. And I know I've had a couple dogs over the last couple years during my rebuilding that I went out and bought. I bought a blue dog named Jack. He come from some of the lineage of Van Johnson's dogs. And that dog was just consistent. He wasn't the fastest dog, wasn't the best dog in the world, but he was consistent. When you put him down, he was where he's supposed to be, doing what he's supposed to be doing to the end of it. And he made my young dogs better. And I had a black and tan that when Jack passed away, I ended up getting her just because I wanted that reinsurance. My young dogs were 2 I don't know if they were 2 or 2 then. They were catching bear on their own, but I bought a black female, and just to add to that, and she was consistent. So I used that to help make my pack better. So, we want to avoid breeding on hype and reputation. Reputation means something, but are you breeding to them just because of reputation? Is it more to it? I don't want to breed my dog on one race either. Okay, I seen the dog, I hunted with the dog one time and the dog looked like a superstar. Mm-hmm. They will do that. But can he do that over a period 3, 4, 5 hunts? Think about that. What you saw all season. Because when honest about your dogs, we're really doing something bigger than evaluating the hunting season. Right? So let's talk about the honest evaluation. Right? I want to produce better dogs in every generation. That's my goal. I want to have better races. I want to have stronger packs. I want to be a better hunter. Like, I'm still learning ABL. I always be learning. I'm always learning about the woods, the animals, and the dogs. Right? That's where I'm at. The hunters who improve year after year aren't the ones with the most dogs. They're the ones willing to be honest about the dogs they have. A good A good houndsman have always done this. They watch their dogs, they learn from them, they make decisions, and they improve that pack continually. So let's think about this. When the woods go quiet in spring and the work of the houndsman doesn't stop, it just changes. This is a season where we learn from our dogs, we fix problems, we build on strengths, and we prepare for next fall, next hunting season. Because every good season starts with an honest look at the last one. And guys, I'll tell you, like, I am in a major evaluation process. I've got some nice started dogs, some nice young dogs, and I'm horrible about picking holes in them. I've got 2 or 3 dogs that are all on the same level. Like, I can take any 1, 2 or 3 of them, those dogs, and do the exact same thing with them. And I've had to ask myself, do I keep 3 dogs on the same level, or do I prepare myself to move forward? And it's hard. And it's super hard when you're emotionally attached to them. When you spend hours and days hauling them around in your trucks, playing with them in the yard, learning them to load and lead and recall. You put all this time and investment in them. And then you find out a year later, they're not going to make the cut. So take some time this spring and ask yourself one question. What did your dogs teach you last season? It's going to be a wrap for this episode of Creekside Chronicles. We appreciate you spending your time with us, whether you're in the truck, in the woods, or sitting by the creek listening along. Thank you for walking this trail with us. And thank you to W Supply for hosting the podcast and supporting what we do. Be sure to check them out and go to wsupply.com for all of your hound needs. Until next time, keep your dogs fed right, your boots muddy, and we'll see you down the trail.
Tailgate drops before the light, coolers packed and the rig sitting right, tracking collars charged, beeping green, boots in the bed and the rifle's clean. Dog box rattling, engines hum, we're chasing bear till the day is done. Old ring barking like he knows what's near, nose to the wind, tail full of cheer. From the Virginia mountains to the Carolina clay, we're burning fuel and miles each day. Every turn's another tale, through mountain mist and paper trails. We see the sunset red in Tennessee, rise through the fog in old WV, North Carolina echo loud with the cry of a hard-run hound. New York forest, Maine's deep snow, Vermont valleys where the black bears go. Truck keeps rolling, wheels don't care. We're chasing daylight, chasing bear. Rest stops few, the roads are long, but the fire in our hearts still burns strong. Wisconsin mornings cutting crisp and clear, Canada's wildwoods drawing near. Still got states we ain't run, but that hound dog fever won't let us quit. We see the sun set red in Tennessee, rise through the fall in old WV. North Carolina's pines echo loud with the cry of a hard-run hound. New York frost, Maine's deep snow, Vermont valleys where the black bears go. Truck keeps rolling, wheels don't care. We're chasing daylight, chasing bear. Gas station coffee, Alpha XL on the dash. Another back road, another bear track. Friends made fast and stories told slow. Under stars where only hunters go. We see the sunrise gold in Canadian air, and it sets on a trail down in Appalachia. Packing steel and leather, grit and care. We're built for the road and chasing bear. So load the dogs and slam the gate. There's a trail ahead, we won't be late. From dawn to dusk, we're always there. Chasing daylight, chasing them bears.